Welcome back to Docket 360. I am your host, D, and today I bring you 3 paranormal stories. Enjoy. When I was 8, we moved from a tiny house into a new home. The house my parents still live in today. It's out in the country. It was an older house in a quaint neighborhood with several acres of land. Adjusting during the next year wasn't hard. It was easy enough that the worst problem I had was that my upstairs bedroom was always hot. So one night, I was horribly thirsty and went downstairs to get a drink. I rounded the corner to go down the stairs and stopped dead in my tracks. The shadowy silhouette of a man looked back up at me from the bottom of the stairs. It was almost pitch black in the house and I was frozen in fear. I did not pick up on nor remember any details of what he looked like, other than the fact that the shadow was all black. This man was easily 6 feet tall and wore a 3-cornered hat, which was strangely easy to pick out through his otherwise muddled appearance. I only knew this because my dad was comparatively tall, and because of the historically informed TV shows I liked to watch as a child. I'm not sure how long I stood there, absolutely still. Without making a single sound, the silhouette walked, or should I say glided, to the left and out of sight. I backed up into my parents' room, which was right behind me, and woke my mom up. I just sat there and bawled. My dad, who was a cop at the time, was concerned enough that he got up with his gun and made absolutely sure the doors were locked and that nobody was in the house. They made me a cot, and I slept by their bed the rest of the night since I felt scared and unsafe. That was the last time I ever saw the man personally, but let's fast forward a few months. My friend Kayla was over spending the day with me. It was later in the afternoon, and we were downstairs in the living room painting her nails. Things were normal until she got up to do something, then paused right where she stood. "There's a man in your backyard," she said. This wasn't unusual for us. Our neighbors ran a successful lawn care business, and we gave them permission to cut across our lawn to more easily access the customers they served in the neighborhood. But to be safe, I stood up with her and looked outside. Nobody was there. I remember this conversation like it was yesterday. "Don't you see him?" Kayla said, surprisingly excited more than scared. Her eyes were terrifyingly wide. "No," I replied. My heart was racing. "He's there," she said, pointing straight ahead, not too far away, in the big hat. I felt my heart skip a beat so badly it was painful. A hat was all I could say. Was it the Hat Man that I had seen? Could she see his features? Why wasn't she saying anything about what he looked like? And why couldn't I see him? I was too scared to talk, and I just freaked out. I ran to my mom again, and Kayla followed. She was strangely excited at first, but ended up being so terrified that her mom had to leave work to come get her. After a few weeks, Kayla got the nerve to come back and visit. We were in my room this time. I don't remember what we were doing, but out of nowhere she gasped, and her eyes watered. She pointed in front of us and rasped, "The man in the hat, he's in the corner." She turned completely white and we screamed. However, after talking for about 20 minutes with my mother, she was pretty much normal and did not ask to go home this time. So I don't know what she really saw, but I will say that the look on her face was genuinely fearful. About a year after this all happened, we learned of a family cemetery in the neighborhood where a Revolutionary War soldier and his family are buried. This is very unusual for our area. Now, when I visit my parents' house, I try to go, and it's essentially behind my house, on the next street over. I'm not sure if the cemetery has anything to do with the man in the 3-cornered hat, but I guess I can wonder. Since that night I got up for a drink, I have never seen him again. I am still in contact with Kayla, and as far as I know, she hasn't seen him either. In my youth, I grew up hearing ghost stories, but never really knew what to make of them. They were kind of filed away with aliens, demons, and boogeymen. Still, growing up in a large town bordering on a small city, things for teens to do was severely limited. So once I got a car, a few friends of mine, Carl and Logan, we'd go check out local sites that are rumored to be haunted. Me, being the open-minded fence rider, Logan, the staunch skeptic, and Carl, the token African-American believer, we had a pretty balanced set of beliefs. One night, sitting bored together in Logan's gazebo, we decided to visit a site called the old Sheldon Church. It's an old church built way back in the day, and also serves as a graveyard for the older families of the region of South Carolina. School's out. We have nothing to do, so we hop in my car. It's a good 30-minute drive from Logan's house to the place, and all the while we're discussing the possibility of seeing something, arguing back and forth. We get there a little after midnight, and the place looks deserted, as well it should be. It's your typical dilapidated building, made historical landmark by the state. We drive by it and turn around, as there is a no parking sign on the side of the road we came in on. As we park, we notice there's an old red Ford parking between the sign designating the historical landmark and the no parking sign. It's definitely seen better days. Though even in the dim moonlight, I make out a silver panel, splitting the truck into two dual colors. We figure someone from school had borrowed their dad's car and came out to look too. Instead, as we get out, an old man comes from the front of the car and asks, "Come to check out the church?" We all murmured in agreement and struck a little dumbfounded this old man is out on a weekday in the middle of the night. He walks toward us but never leaves the side of his truck as we make our way toward the small ramp and stairs to get onto the grounds. "I have a cooler full of beer in the back of the bed if you guys want some," he hollers. I say, "No thanks, we're just coming here to look." I find it odd. He offers beer to a group of kids that are clearly underage. "Well, come on over, they're cold," he says. He's really pressing the issue. And he made it to the gate of his truck as we're in front of the small concrete steps onto the church. I look over my shoulder to answer him, and he's staring intensely with a grin that I assume he's trying to force to appear friendly. I give him a brisker "no thanks" as my friends begin climbing onto the church grounds. They get up the ramp and only make it about 5 paces in when he yells from the road, "Come on back and have a beer," he hollers. Frustrated, I turn to answer him and no longer see him or his truck. There's only a thin wrought iron fence and a couple of spread out trees between us and the road, and did not hear him start his truck, nor did I hear him leave. I look up and down the road. There's not another soul in sight. My friends have already moved to the skeleton of a building, and I quickly closed the distance between us. Something felt off. Something felt off. My gut felt tense. My eyes were drawn to the woods the entire time, feeling like I'm about to lock eyes with someone. I just had the urge to remain quiet as I followed my friends, who were in a spirited talk about the place and what they've heard. Carl finally turned to me, then looked to the empty road. "Where'd the old man go?" I paused, looking down on the ground, and mumbled, "I don't know. Are y'all done?" They both exchanged looks, and after 5 more minutes of looking around the church grounds, we leave. I spoke to my grandmother about the incident, and she told me that the devil takes forms to try to lure people into his grasp. He did not follow you onto the grounds because it's holy. He probably followed you through the woods in hopes that you would wander too far off the grounds. I don't think I declined a beer from Satan himself, but this was what assured me that there's more to this world than what we believe. My parents and my maternal grandparents were staying at this property throughout the 1970s. At the time, my mother said that the strange things began to occur soon after I was born, in August of 1969, and that it started in the attic. My family was downstairs when they heard a noise like someone jumping down from the attic onto the landing. When my family went to investigate what was going on, they saw that the hatch to the attic was moved. It eventually occupied itself in the main bedroom, which was my grandparents' room. And when I was old enough, I began to experience it for myself. Virtually every evening when we would all be downstairs watching TV, we would hear things that simply defied rational explanation, like regular footsteps walking around in the bedroom. We would go upstairs to try and catch it, but when we'd get there, we'd find nothing that could account for it. A family friend who would come to see us virtually every night, she didn't believe my grandmother when she told her that the place was haunted. I still remember her going into the main bedroom, checking it out. She said that it was vibrations from the traffic outside that was causing it. Her opinion would soon change when she actually experienced it for herself, and it was then that she suggested to the family that a medium should come to the Gladstone Villa. When he arrived, he asked the family a few questions. When he started to get ready, he began to challenge the spirit by knocking on the ceiling to get a reaction. The spirit promptly knocked back. He later went into a trance to try to make contact. He failed to get a name, but he later confirmed the obvious. There was indeed a presence there, and it was in fact an earthbound spirit. We then called a priest to the property, and he said a few prayers and blessed the rooms, and it was quiet for a few short months. But it did return with a vengeance. This time, it started to show itself. I remember one event clearly. It was in the day. My mother just went over to the sofa to get something. She looked to her left, and I saw the expression on her face. It was one of confusion. She later told me that she saw an old man looking into the main room from the hallway. He was an elderly man with white hair. I didn't see it as the door was wide open, blocking my view of the hall. We also experienced some minor poltergeist activity. I remember electrical cables being pulled, and one day my grandfather was coming into the main room from upstairs when he saw and heard a bottle breaking. He said it was thrown towards him as he entered the bedroom. There were also other sightings and incidents, like when we had my grandfather's workmate come for a visit. It was all very quiet when suddenly there was a very loud bang from upstairs. So loud that my grandfather's friend ducked his head, thinking that it was going to come through the ceiling. It frightened me so bad that I ran to my mother. Another occasion, we saw the lights going on and off, and so was the TV. We were in the bedroom at the time. It was so frightening that we slept downstairs with the lights on. We had the ghost for so long that my grandmother gave it a name. She called him Johnny. Sometimes, my grandfather would mock it by shouting "Johnny O" just to get a reaction, but nothing would happen. We left the Gladstone Villa in June of 1978 when two local businessmen bought the property. It was eventually converted into a hotel, and the name was changed to Reds Park Hotel. I had my 40th birthday there in August of 2009 for old time's sake, and the staff told me of their own experiences before I told them who I was. The bar lady told me that there had been sightings in room 5, and footsteps had been heard everywhere. Johnny the ghost is still there. If you guys enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe, and don't forget to share it with your friends. If you have content that you'd like to see in one of my future videos, please send it over to docket360@gmail.com. You can also DM me on Twitter @docket360. And for now, have a good night.